Hello and welcome to another episode of the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Connor Moreno, lead writer for UCLA Bruins on SI, and we are just around, I would say, maybe 18 hours from game day. I should have took the time before I started this podcast, but yeah, we're just under 18 hours from game day. UCLA is going to take on Michigan State in East Lansing. Kickoff time is at 9 a.m. Pacific. Very early one for the West Coasters, but UCLA is looking to bounce off of their massive Penn State win last week, upsetting number 7 team in the nation. And so today we're going to break down kind of UCLA's preparation, what they've been saying through this week of practice, and how they're prepping to beat Michigan State. So what I first wanted to get into was kind of what Coach Skipper was saying. Coach Tim Skipper has been saying throughout the week about Michigan State. During Monday's media availability, he went ahead and talked about what he's seen early from the Spartans. He said, well, Coach Team, one thing that sticks out to me is that they're not penalized a lot. Their penalties are way down, so they're going to force you to play ball. As we know, penalties have been a problem for UCLA, not necessarily in the last two games. They really have shored up their discipline. But, there was that lingering, disciplinary issues that really held UCLA back towards the start of the season. And they're going to be playing yet another disciplined team. Northwestern, very disciplined. Penn State, typically very disciplined. Obviously, they weren't up to their full potential against UCLA last week, but now they have Michigan State as well. So, and like during UCLA's own forced start, they would routinely just kill any momentum that they ever had by committing a false start here or unnecessary holding there. It's just stuff built up, and UCLA just couldn't. I would say honestly, if they were more disciplined, they would probably start the season 2-2. With wins against UNLV and New Mexico. Probably looking at a completely different outlook, but we've already talked about it plenty. But they're here. They're 1-4 still. They beat the number 7 team in the nation last week, and they're looking to turn around. And so what Skipper likes to do is he likes to talk about offense and defense from what he's seen from the opposition. So he said, on offense, they're a time of possession team. They want to win that category. They're not going to go fast. They're going to take their time. They're an 11 and 12 personnel type team as their base. They'll get into their big boy stuff too when it's short yards and things like that. Another thing that sticks out, they're going to give us some old school football. They're going to have a quarterback under center, and they'll give us some two backs looks also. Michigan State, obviously Skipper saying that Michigan State is no stranger to putting two backs in the backfield and running it down their throats, but also Michigan State has a dual threat quarterback in Aiden Childs. It's going to be an interesting matchup between him and Nico Iamaleava. They kind of share the same skill set, but not really. I do think that Nico is a little bit more dynamic than Aiden Childs. Nico obviously has flexed what he can do on the ground. I would say that Aiden Childs has had a better passing season than Nico Iamaleava, though. But we'll see what happens. Nico looks really good in Jerry Neuheisel's offense. Everyone looks really good in Neuheisel's offense, honestly. And Aiden Childs is coming off a really bad game. I think last game he had maybe like 80 yards, 9 for 20 completion percentage, something like that. But one quarterback is coming off one of the biggest wins of the season. Nico Iamaleava obviously won a ton of awards this week, including AP Player of the Week, Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. Aiden Childs coming off an abysmal game, so we'll see how that matches up. And then Skipper moved on to the defense. He said on defense, they're a 4-down operation. They're going to play man. They're going to play some cover 4. When they get to third downs, that's when they're going to get a little exotic and try and heat us up and pressure us a little bit. So we have to be ready for their 5-man and 6-man pressures. They play hard, man. You see them on film. They tackle well. Guys are pursuing when they're on defense. On offense, they're controlling it. They want to win. On the ground, they have a very athletic quarterback that causes a lot of problems. So this is going to be a huge challenge for us. And I do think it's going to be a pretty, formidable challenge for UCLA. The way I see it, one team is coming off a really big win. They have a ton of momentum. Even though the Bruins only have one win this season, it's one of the biggest wins of the season, and they're going to have a ton of momentum off of that. On the other side, Michigan State, losers of 2 straight. They're 0-2 to start conference play. I would say, even though Michigan State has been the more talented team this season, I would say that UCLA might have the edge just because of the momentum coming in from the prior week or two. Michigan State searching for a win. I think, if anything, of their first three conference games, UCLA is their most likely win. Michigan State lost to Nebraska and USC in their last two games. So, but I do think that this kind of favors UCLA, even though analytics might not say it, even though, the odds makers might not say it. I do think that UCLA has the edge in this one. And yeah, that's all we have for the preparation. We do have a little bit more time, though. I kind of wanted to go into 3 Week 7 games that UCLA fans should actually keep their eyes on, aside from obviously the UCLA game. I write these every week, and the reason I do is because I do think it is important to keep track of UCLA's remaining season opponents, and kind of how they fare. For instance, you have teams like Maryland who started the season super hot. The first 4 weeks they went undefeated. They started the season super hot. Going into the season, you would have thought UCLA was better than Maryland, but if you keep track of Maryland, you see that they're one of the hottest teams in the nation despite losing their last week. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. The number one game that I would like UCLA fans to watch, and by the way, another reason that this is important is because UCLA kicks off at 9 a.m. Eastern. So after that game, you have the rest of your day to do whatever you want. Why not flick on some games from some remaining UCLA opponents, watch some film, get a better grasp of what the opponents are doing. So, yeah, the number one game is Maryland versus Nebraska. This one, as I wrote, is a double whammy. 2 UCLA opponents, both of which are coming very soon. Maryland is next week. Nebraska is in a few weeks. The Terrapins, Maryland, they started the season 4-0. They were one of the hottest teams in the nation before giving up a 20-point lead to Washington last week. And I do think that UCLA fans should be rooting for Nebraska to come out with this one. Maryland was projected to be a worse team than UCLA, as I mentioned. And this week's results, if Maryland were to lose 2 straight, maybe that could, bring those early season projections back to form. We had Nebraska's game as number 1 on the same list last week, and they took care of business. They played against Michigan State last week in Nebraska. So if the Cornhuskers can do UCLA that favor for the same exact week, that same exact favor for consecutive weeks, then why not? Why not root for Nebraska? They kick off, I think, at 12:30, which is right after UCLA. And then number 2, we have USC versus number 15. And I'm just going to read what I wrote. Nothing like a good old-fashioned hate watch, right? UCLA's crosstown rivals continue a daunting 3-game stretch by playing host to number 15 Michigan. The Trojans had a bye last week, but were coming off a loss to number 17 ranked Illinois in week 5. That week, which was 2 weeks ago, USC was ranked 21st. Illinois was ranked 23rd. Obviously, Illinois won and kicked USC out of the ratings entirely. And so here's how I think you should do it, Bruins fans. Wake up early, watch a potential UCLA win at 9 a.m. Pacific, take a nap, then wake back up and enjoy a USC hate watch at 4:30 p.m. So that's how I said it. And then, I just had one more game, which was number 7 Indiana, which is a UCLA opponent, going on the road against number 3 Oregon. And, if you don't want to take a nap for that last game, fine. You can just flip on this game right after. They kick off at 12:30 Pacific. Indiana hosts UCLA in a couple weeks, so why not, tune into one of the best games of the weekend, which is number 7 versus number 3, and get some film on the Hoosiers. By the way, number 17 on the schedule kind of sounds familiar for UCLA, right? Anyways, Hoosiers and Ducks, they're expected to put on a really good show, so I do think that that's a really good game that you guys should be watching. So yeah, that's all we have for the Michigan State versus UCLA breakdown. We'll see you tomorrow right after the game. We're going to talk about it. So yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. We'll see you tomorrow.